Here's how you can create a stunning electric glowing neon logo effect using a free plugin called Saber in After Effects, just like you saw in the intro. I've spent over 9 years mastering video editing, and in this tutorial, I've broken down the process so that whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, you can easily follow along and create an incredible result. And you'll be able to pick up some cool tricks and techniques along the way that will take your video editing skills to the next level. Plus, I'm giving you my premium editing assets and the full project file all for free. Link in the description, go check it out. So, without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Now, the first thing you want to do is click on New Composition. Rename it to something like Electric Neon Logo. Change the preset here to UHD 4K Resolution 25 and set the duration to 10 seconds like so. Once you've done that, click OK. Next, let's import the logo that we'll be adding the electric glowing neon logo effect to by hitting Ctrl-I on your keyboard, select the file you want to import, and click Import. If you don't have a cool icon or logo to use, then a pro tip I can give you is to go to flaticon.com and search for whatever icon you want to use for free. Now, before we do anything, I strongly recommend making sure that your image or logo is a PNG file with a transparent background, or else we won't be able to trace the outline of the icon, so make sure you do that if it's not already. Once you've done that, just drag and drop the image file into your timeline here. Then, create a new composition by clicking this icon right here, and let's rename it Saber Effect, and click OK. Now, just drag our previous composition, Electric Neon Logo, into the timeline of our new composition here, and go to Layer and select Auto Trace, right here. Pause the video and make sure all of the settings look the same as mine. Make sure Apply to New Layer is checked off, and click OK. Now, your logo should be automatically traced and outlined like so. Once you've got that, let's apply the Saber effect by going over to the Effects and Presets search bar and type Saber. If you don't see this section, then go to Window and toggle on Effects and Presets. If you don't already have the Saber effect, then go to the link in the description to download this awesome free plugin. And if you're having any trouble with installing, click the video linked below to learn how to install plugins in After Effects. If you're having any trouble with any of these steps that I've mentioned in this video, please let me know in the comment section down below and I'll respond to you within a day. Once you follow the instructions and installed it, let's just double click that like so, and it will add the Saber effect to our layer. Now, you should see a blue lightsaber looking line, which is okay for now, but what we really want to do is have it trace our logo here. So in order to do that, go to Customize Core here and open that up and go to Core Type. Select the core type to layer mask, and you should immediately see that Saber has been applied to your logo's outline, which is great. But you might notice that the effect is a little bit too intense, so let's just decrease the intensity of the glow by setting the glow intensity to 15%, the glow spread to 0.5, the glow bias to 0.5, and the core size to 3. Feel free to adjust these numbers to your liking. Also, if you want to adjust the size of your logo, you can select the layer, go over to Scale here, make sure that this link is turned on so that it scales uniformly, and just change the percentage number to your preference. Now, let's go over a few things that can make your logo look even better using some really cool features in Saber. First, go over to Preset and try out all of these presets until you can find the one that you like. In my case, I'll use Patronus because it's my personal favorite. You can also change the glow color of the effect you choose by clicking on this color box here and mess with the color wheel. Next, open up the flicker section and set the flicker intensity to something like 50. This will add some flickering to your logo like so, making it look a lot more interesting and professional. Then, open up the render settings here and set the composite settings to transparent. This is really important because this will allow your logo to have a transparent background, which will come in great use later on. Finally, you can also add a tracing animation to your logo by first dragging your time indicator all the way to the beginning of your composition like so, go to Customize Core, hit the stopwatches for mask evolution, end size, and end offset, set the start size to 0 and the start offset to 100. Once you've got all of those adjustments, click on your logo layer and hit U on your keyboard. This will show you all of the keyframes you've just created, which are these diamond-shaped points. Now, just select all the keyframes that are on the mask, which we don't need, and delete them by hitting backspace on your keyboard. Select the logo layer again and hit U 2 times on your keyboard slowly to open up the updated keyframes, which should be these 3 only. Now, to explain, these keyframes that we've just created will allow us to lock down these parameters for the start of our video so that if we move the time indicator to a different point in our video and change them, it will create an automation for those 3 parameters changing, allowing us to animate. So, now that we understand the basics of how animation and keyframes work, let's implement it. drag the time indicator to around 2 seconds and change the end offset to 0%. Then, drag the time indicator to around 7 seconds and click these 2 points to create static keyframes for the end size and end offset. After that, bring the time indicator to 8 seconds and set the end size to 0% and the end offset back to 100%. Finally, set the mask evolution multiplier here to 2 to have our animation cycle around 2 times within the 8-second animation we've just made. Once you've done all of these steps, you should get a really cool tracing animation for your logo that looks like this. Now, we're done with the base for this animation, and from here on, we're gonna build on top of this foundation that we've just made to make it look even better. Just to give you guys a heads up, we're gonna be making a ground layer to add some environment, a reflection over a logo to make it more realistic, and lastly, some finishing touches and effects to come up with an awesome final result. So, if that sounds good to you, make sure you keep watching and follow along with my step-by-step process. So, let's start with making the ground layer by going back to our project section, creating a new composition by clicking this icon here, rename it to ground texture, and hit OK. Now, select the project section again, hit Ctrl I on your keyboard, and select the ground texture you want to import and click import. If you don't have a ground texture image to use, then I strongly suggest you go down to the link in the description to download my free premium assets pack if you haven't already. Once you've got that, let's drop it into our composition timeline, head over to the scale property, make sure this link thingy is on, and set the scale to 130. Add a levels effect to your ground texture layer and set the gamma here to 0.8 to darken it a little. Now, make another composition, rename it ground environment, place our ground texture composition into the timeline, and click this cube icon here to make it editable in a 3D space. If you don't see this cube icon, then go down to toggle switches/modes and click it to access that feature. Now that we can edit this ground texture in a 3D space, let's rotate this layer vertically by adjusting this red X parameter here and make it completely flat like so. Then bring this layer down by adjusting the blue Z parameter arrow here and just drag it down to about here like so to create a floor for our composition. Once you've done that, let's just expand this floor all the way out by adding an effect called motion tile and change the output width to 330 and the output height to 620. Make sure you set the mirror edges checkbox on in order to make it look a lot more natural. Okay, yeah, this is a start, but it still kind of looks weird, so let's fix it. In order to make this a bit more aesthetic, let's add a camera by right-clicking this blank space here, go to New, and go to Camera. Select the 28mm preset and hit OK. If you toggle the visibility of the camera on and off, you can see that this makes a big difference as it brings the details and textures of our ground layer to light. Now that we're done with the ground layer, let's make a reflection of our logo onto it by first making a new composition, name it Final, go over to this area here and right-click it, go to New, and go to Solid to create a solid layer within our final composition. Make sure the solid layer is black and click OK. Next, drag our Saber effect composition into the timeline and make sure that it is set in front of the black solid. Let's duplicate it by hitting Ctrl D on your keyboard, rename the duplicated layer Reflection, and flip it over by right-clicking the layer, go over to Transform, and select Flip Vertical. Turn on the 3D cube icon for both layers, hit toggle switches/modes, and set the Saber effect composition to the mode Add. Fix the reflection layer's position to be at where the ground will be placed by dragging down the green Y parameter like so. Once you're there, let's place the ground environment layer into the timeline and make sure that it's placed between the logo and the logo's reflection. Add an adjustment layer by right-clicking, go to New, and go to Adjustment Layer. Place it below the ground environment, go all the way up here to Effects, go to Blur and Sharpen, and let's add a compound blur to this adjustment layer. Now, go over to Blur layer here and we'll use the ground environment layer as a mask. Now that the ground composition is a mask layer, make sure you turn its visibility off in the timeline by clicking this eye icon right here like so. Go back to the adjustment layer and set the maximum blur value to something over 300 like so to make it blend in with the flow more. Now, you'll probably notice that the ground layer and the reflection still looks a bit weird and lacks a realistic glassy shine, so let's add a CC glass effect to the adjustment layer and follow along with this video to change these parameters to the following values. Feel free to pause in between. Now, we're almost done. we just need to add some finishing touches and effects to finalize this super cool animation. Let's do that really quickly by adding an adjustment layer all of the way at the top of our timeline like so, add any effects you want like glow, saturation, curves, and adjust the parameters to your preference until you get a result that you like. Let's also quickly add some lighting by importing a lighting asset from my free premium assets pack, move it all the way to the top of our composition, scale it up a bit, and set the mode here to add. And there you go. You've successfully made a stunning electric glowing neon logo animation that looks awesome and is sure to grab attention. Congrats! If this tutorial helped, make sure you like, subscribe, and drop any questions you have in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them within 24 hours. As a bonus, you can check the link in the description and get access to some awesome free editing assets to help take your edits and projects to the next level. Now, before you go, check out my next tutorial here, which I think is the best one for you to watch next. Or you can click on this playlist here to watch all of my tutorials so far. I upload new videos every Friday, and I'll be updating the playlist weekly so you'll never miss out. I know you want to keep living up your editing skills, so go ahead and click one of these. Your future self will thank you. Trust me, they're worth it. Now get out of here.